everyone, and welcome to the Lolo Cynthia Show. On today's episode, we are talking to women who have decided to not have kids. I am so excited to have this conversation because in 2019, I released a video talking about how I myself do not want to have kids. I know that in Africa, a conversation like that is like challenging societal norms that, they've already established for women. But I decided to put out that video so that other women can know that it is possible to chart a different path. So on today's episode, I'm going to be talking to women just like myself who have also decided to be child-free. On the episode, we would explore some of the internal and external pressures that they experience. We would also talk to them about, the journey that it took for them to accept that this was a decision that they wanted to hold on to. So get your popcorn, get ready, because this is going to be a very tantalizing episode.
I'm a woman and I don't want kids. I love kids with others, but I don't really see myself as a mother. It's not like I'm not great with kids. I think I'm actually pretty amazing with them, but there is just no craving for them on my end. It's also not because I can't get pregnant. I really just want to enjoy my life. I want to travel and put myself and my partner first, with no kids to bother us or anything like that. People always say, God forbid, it's a crime or some sort of abomination. I just really want to spend my money on myself. I also see the heartache some people go through because of childbearing and how the children turn out to be. Not every child can be perfect, quote unquote. I just don't want stress and I am happy where I'm at. I truly am. I could perhaps opt for adoption if someone else, takes care of the child and I will be financially responsible.
So our first guest on the show is Bondi. Bondi is calling in from Nigeria. She says that she decided to not have kids when she observed, mothers and the sacrifices that they have to make to take care of their child. She tells us that she's genuinely just not ready for the journey of parenthood. First of all, before we even go further, you are recently married, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
In our society, most people are like, hey, you don't want to give this, who go marry you? Which man is coming for you? But you just got married and you're a young lady. Is this also a decision that you and your partner share? Does he also not want to have kids?
Yes. So funny enough, universe let me tell a man that didn't want to have kids as well. So like you said, society always be like, who's gonna marry if you don't want to have kids? So even my mother said the same thing to me when she realized I said I didn't want to have kids. She said, who's going to marry you like that? I said, don't worry, I'll find a man that'll marry me. And I did find a man that didn't want to have kids. And interestingly, it wasn't that I said it first. He said it first. One day we're just having a conversation. He just goes, "Oh, he doesn't want to have kids." I'm like, me too. I don't want to have kids. I was like, "Are you sure you're not just saying that because you like me?" And then I showed him a blog post that I had made and an interview I had already done, in 2020, talking about my decision to not have kids. I was like, okay, awesome. So we're very compatible. I'm like, yes, we are. And then we got married
Wow.
this January. Yeah.
It's nice to hear from other women who do not want to have kids, and they're actually meeting men who don't want to have kids as well, young men, and not men. Because I want to bring this up, but this was not even in our discussion. Most times when you say, "Oh, you don't want to have kids, you want to get married, or you want to have a long-term partner," get ready to be with an older man. Get ready to be with a man that already has kids, so he's not interested in having kids anymore.
I strongly believe that there's one person out there that is perfect for everybody. So you will always find your person, and you don't have to compromise on your standards or compromise on what it is that you want. You will find the person that wants the same things as you.
Thank you. No, you're talking to me. I'm telling you, because thank you. I'm listening. Because thank you. It's funny because, and I'm going to cut this out of the show. It's funny because even I too, when I say, "Oh, I want a long-term partner," automatically I don't think of dating a young person. I just believe that I don't want to have kids. I'm probably going to end up with a widower, or I'm going to end up with a man who is 60 or 50, already has so many kids, so he's about to start another part of his life. I'm going to be very honest with you. I have never consciously thought about meeting another young man who, we're both in our 30s or, just young middle professionals who don't want to have kids and just want to be together. It has never been a thought that, not because I don't think it's possible. It's just not something that I think would happen for me because of what are the probability of you finding someone like that. And when you're being realistic, like they always say, the realistic option is to assume that as a child-free woman, you're going to end up with a much older man. So I really love your story. But you mentioned something where you say that it's just because you don't have the capacity to do it at the moment. You have all of things that you want to do. Do you think that down the line, when you feel like maybe you're not juggling so many things, where you feel like there's a part of your life that's calm, so you can take up other responsibilities, would you be open to the idea of now having kids later in your life?
Well, never say never, right? Because the funny thing about life is when you say never, we say can never be me. I feel like God takes it as a challenge. It's like, can never be you. I will show you that it can be you. So I'm just going to say never say never. If in the future I change my mind, then hey, I mean, change is the only thing that is constant. Because I mean, I went from wanting kids. I mean, I love kids, right? I went from always wanting to have my own daughter to okay, I don't think I want to have my own. I just want to be an auntie, and I might change my mind tomorrow. I say, okay, I want to have kids now. And thankfully, science has advanced. The medical science has gone so far. In terms of upgrades and what you can do, that you can have a child in your 50s, in your 60s. You can always adopt. You can do IVF. You can use a surrogate. So, I mean, if I feel like I'm going to change my mind, I can always freeze my eggs. I mean, the options are limitless. As long as we're alive and God permits us to do certain things, we will do it. I feel like the pressure on African woman is too much. Like your life is mapped out from the moment the doctor says that is a girl in your womb. You know that when you come out, you have to be modeled like, oh, you have to learn how to cook. You have to be a decent woman. You can't wear certain things. You can't do certain things. You can't say certain things. Then, like, you have to be marriageable, right? So you start your life. Father me as a Nigerian woman, life you already before you say Jack Robinson, they've already put you in crèche, from crèche nursery, from nursery primary, from primary secondary university. You don't have a chance to get masters. When you finish masters, you go and do NYSC. From NYSC, you have to get a job. When you get a job, they want you to marry. So at every point of your life, you're living for somebody else. Right? It's like you're living for your parents because you have to do well. They're putting in so much into you, in terms of your school fees, raising you. Then you get married. You have to give yourself as a wife. You're doing this, you're doing that. Then children come along the way. You have to give so much of yourself to your child. Then at some point, it's like, what about me? I mean, I admire our mothers and our aunts that could do it, but I know that I'm not going to be the best version of myself if I'm pouring from an empty cup. If I'm giving so much of myself to so many people all at the same time, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I have to excel in my career. I will run mad. I will run mad. And I'll probably wake up one
I
day and just
agree.
burn everybody in the house with me.
What you said, honestly, it resonates with me so much. And when you even talk about waste the mental capacity after a long day at work, you come back, you still have kids. It made me think about something because when I used to do like 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
I was always confused how my colleagues had 4 kids. I'm like, we do the same job. I
Thank
go
you.
home, I don't even want to hear anybody. But you're going home to take care of four. Now,
Like, don't we have the
how
same
are you
24
doing
hours
this?
in a day? Or do you have extra hours I don't
I
know
don't
about?
know. But it's just like what you said. Some people just have the capacity to juggle all of those things. And for some people, being a mother is the number one hat that they wear. So
Mm-hmm.
going to work, is just like the extracurricular activity. Going home
Absolutely.
is actually their main job. But for
Mm,
someone like me, and just like what you said, it's the opposite. Going
thank
to work
you.
is my main work.
It
So
is.
going back home is for me to go decompress. I'm not going home to now take care of another person. Most people often say, is it because you have like a traumatic childhood? I want to get some of the responses and reactions because you're very open about your decision to be child free. What are some responses that you've gotten from the people you've spoken to or from the general public?
So I want to respond to something you said before, the opinions I've gotten about whether it was a traumatic experience. No, I wouldn't say I had a traumatic experience growing up, right? But I had my mom, but I also had my aunt that happened to be my godmother at the same time, and I'm named after her. Funny enough, but she poured into me so much. As with all of my, actually, it's not just her. I have two aunts that poured so much love into me that I never felt you know, the absence of my mother or anything. And it just made me feel like, okay, I want to be an aunt. Like I feel like as an aunt, you can give so much more love as well as a mother. It does not have any limitations. So I'm very happy to just be an aunt and pour love into my nieces and my nephews and not necessarily have my own. Apart about the the general feedback I get, of course, I mean, being a northern woman, one in Nigeria, you're always going to get, what are you saying? You don't know what you're talking about. No, you can't say that. How will you say that? No, you have it. I'm just like, okay. I said we're going to put a child in my stomach by force. I'm not going to have a child. Thankfully, our generation is more open-minded. So some of them will be like, oh yeah. And honestly, the people that are always open-minded to my decision are young mothers. They're like, girl, I understand. Don't worry. You don't have to explain to me. I understand. I admire your decision. The people that tend to be like, that I meet the resistance from are usually, the older, the middle age and the older, the aunties and the mothers. Just like, no, how can you say that? You have to have, you're married, look at you. You people, you waste this, your fine jeans, blah blah. I'm just like, everybody be all right. We're all gonna be all right. So just leave me alone.
Wow. Thank you so much, Bondi, for joining us today to actually share your story. It's been such a pleasure talking to you and connecting. I've had a lot of fun. I'm happy. Thank you so much for joining.
I had a good time talking here too.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm 31 years old and I have no desire to have children. Shocking. Perhaps. I work as a children's nurse, and in my nursing career, I see the joy of parenthood. Still, I have no desire for the lifelong responsibilities of another human. My life is full of joy with my friends and their kids and the world of travel. I look forward to exploring the world and continue my work as a nurse. But the men I meet always seem to think that this will change. If I'm being honest, it won't. Interestingly, when I go out on dates with these men, they want me to completely put them first and put myself and my career on hold. They don't treat me as an equal. I have no desire to look for a man to settle with. I'm quite happy with myself and I travel solo. I get told I'll be lonely, and to this I say, it's worse being trapped in a marriage or a relationship just because the society says so. The society doesn't care about you, they only care about what is expected of you.
Our next guest is Tinashe from Zimbabwe. Tinashe says that she has always known that she does not want to have kids. However, she never assumed that it was possible to live her truth. Thank you so much, Tinashe, for joining us on the show today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Lolo. I'm so happy to be here.
It's my pleasure. I'm super excited as well for us to have this conversation. Can you share with us why it was difficult for you to accept that you didn't want to have kids? And why also do you not want to have kids?
All right. I think that to answer the second question first, I don't want to have kids because I don't want to be anyone's primary caregiver. Being a parent is a very difficult job. And I believe that unless someone is very, very sure that they're willing to do it to the best of their abilities on the good days and the bad days, then they have no business bringing children into this world. Because like we know, children are an oppressed class. So if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to bring someone who I know is an oppressed class, who I know will be fully dependent on me into the world, and I will do my best for them, then I don't think you should have kids, because it's a big deal. It's another human being. It's a very big deal. So the reason why I felt like I couldn't express that, or that my desire not to be a parent was wrong, is that from the time we're born, you're raised being told, oh, grow up, go to school, get married, have kids. It's like a step in everyone's path. So it's only later that I realized that it's not a compulsory step. You don't have to. If you don't have kids, you won't like spontaneously combust. It's fine. It's an option. So once I learned that it was an option, I was relieved, because now my desires in my heart to not be a parent were, how can I say, they were validated. So now I knew there was nothing wrong with me. It's just not everyone has to be a parent, and that's okay.
And now I'm curious though, when did you realize that you did not want to have kids? Was it something you've always known since you were a child, or was it something you became aware of as you gained some level of consciousness of how the world operates? When was that, and when did you know?
I think I knew I didn't want to have kids when I was young, like maybe 15. I just knew this is probably not for me. But it's only as I became older and got more exposed to the systemic injustices against parents, got exposed to how much more it means for a woman, particularly in this world, to have a child, that I was like, wait a minute, my desire not to have kids, it's not childish. It's not something that I'll grow out of. It's valid, and the world is also very hostile to mothers. So if I do something that I don't want to, and it's going to be hard because the world is against it, then I will regret it, because not only have I done something that I didn't want to do to begin with, but I've done it in probably a very unsupportive time, because the world hates parents. The world does not make space for children. So now I'm suffering because I made the decision I didn't want, and also suffering because the world is anti-children and anti-parents. So it's only as I got older that I was like, you know what? This decision of yours actually has some merit to it, even outside like personal feelings.
Yeah. Do you think though, I mean, and of course I have to ask the question that the public is asking. Do you think that with time, because the only thing constant in life is change, and with the medical interventions that we have from IVF and, surrogacy and the rest, do you feel like if you get to a level in your life where maybe things are a bit calm, you would be open to the option of now becoming a mother? Because one of the reasons why you said is the injustice and the inability to take care of an oppressed class. Do you think if you have the capacity to take care of them, you would change your mind?
No, because right now I feel like I do have the capacity. Financially, I have a decent job. I don't have a lot of responsibilities. Like, literally, my money is just for me to eat. I could accommodate another small person. Like, really, I think I'd make really cute babies if I ever chose, but that's not the point. So it's not just about the money, because it takes more than money to raise a child. Do I want to wake up in the middle of the night because my child has a fever? Do I want to have a talk with my child about how much they might be sexually assaulted because the world is full of pedophiles? Do I want to set boundaries with relatives who have beliefs that are different from me in order to protect my child? Like, do I want to go to PTA meetings and make brownies? I do not want to do that. And I don't think I will want to do the biology or the money. That's not, for me, that's not the point. I just don't want to be a parent.
How did your family respond to that? When you say you don't want to have kids, how did your family respond to that?
Well, initially my dad was a bit apprehensive because it's not a traditional choice. It's just in the same way when I was a kid, I thought I had to grow up, go to school, get married. My dad thought my kids have to grow up, go to school, get married. But with time, when I showed him that no, if I do get children, or if I do have a long-term committed partnership with a man, these are the things I'll have to sacrifice, and I'm not willing to make that sacrifice. He started to understand, and I was very supportive. My siblings who have kids are very supportive because they are not like, they're realistic. They're like, you know what, it's hard. If you don't want to do it, it's fine, because we love it, but it's not easy. So there's no reason to do it unless you're really, really certain.
I would like to know what is the most empowering aspect of living child-free, of living a life that is not dictated by society's expectations and norms? What's the best thing about it for you?
I think for me, my time belongs to me. Even if I wake up today and decide to quit my job and go back home and live off my father's pension, because no one is dependent on me, that is something I can do. If I decide that I want to sleep the entire weekend, there is no one who will die because I didn't feed them. So my time is mine. I am so free. I can literally, if I can get the time off from work, I can literally wake up, go away for 2 weeks. I don't even own a plant. I don't even have to ask someone to water my plant. It's just, I'll get my bag and go. So having free time is amazing. And especially in my 30s, because now my things are starting to shape up. My money is starting to come together. I'm older and better mentally. Like, I don't have a lot of money, but definitely more than I had when I was 22. So it's like, now I can have the 20s I deserved. I don't know if that makes sense, that I'm having the 20s I deserved in my 30s. And still, I am so happy. I don't want to lie. I wish I could say, oh my gosh, I'm so broody. No, I am happy. I am having the time of my life. And I cannot imagine that bringing a child into my situation would make it any better. I don't think so. Yes.
I love listening to you, and I love the conviction in your voice. I tell you. And
Oh,
what would you say to people who say things like because you're talking about how lovely your life and how happy you are and the freedom
mhm.
you get. But people talk about how if you don't have a child, your life isn't meaningful. If you don't have a child, you're going to be so lonely. If you don't want to have a child,
Okay.
you're not going to find someone who's going to date you. You're not going to get married. How do you
Mhm.
respond to some of those utterances?
Well, I think the main thing is there's a song I've been listening to from the series Heartstopper. That song is beautiful. So it's by this woman called Baby Queen. She's a South African artist in the UK, whatever. And it talks about how she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad because my life is devoid of meaning. And then someone came to her and told her that if your life is devoid of meaning, it means you have total freedom. You can do what you want because it's meaningless anyway. So it's not like, oh, my life is devoid of meaning. It doesn't matter. Yes, it doesn't matter. So you can do what you want. It doesn't matter, literally. So if life is generally devoid of meaning, having kids won't make it certainly have meaning. So yeah, I don't think our lives should be this big thing or this big monument. You're here for 5 seconds, you die, you go, whether or not you have kids. It doesn't matter. So at least spend the little time you have, because also you don't know. Someone say, "Oh, have kids so they take care of you when you're old." Who told you that you will grow old? What if you die next week? Like it's very audacious to think you'll get to 80. We have COVID, we have climate change. It's a miracle that the world is still there despite everything going on. So if your children are the only thing giving your life meaning, I am sorry for those babies because they deserve a parent who's present and who's freed from those shackles of, oh my gosh, all I live for is my babies. Live for yourself. Yeah, I think people would be better parents if they lived for themselves instead of putting all the pressure on their kids. So my life has no meaning, but I believe nothing has meaning. So it doesn't matter. I'm not crushed about it.
Story. Again,
Um,
I really love the conviction in your voice. And I know the other
Thank
women who are
you.
watching the story are also going to
Yeah.
love your conviction. Thank you so much, Tinashe.
No, no, no. Thank you so much. And if I might add, one thing that helps me have conviction is hanging out with older women who are in the same situation as me. So if someone is like 46 and not married and they're not and they're not sad or miserable, it gives me hope that I have at least another 15 years. So yeah, thank you for having me. This was lovely.
Thank you so much, Tinashe. Then I don't want to have children. It's just that it's just not something that calls to me. It's ever since I was a child, I have always known that I don't want to have children. This is just not something that I want. Or when I see babies and they say, oh, my uterus, I can't wait to birth kids. Or when I date someone and I'm thinking of a family, I can't wait for my children to run around in the home and things like that. I don't have those images in my head. I've never had those images in my head. And it doesn't mean that I hate kids. I love kids. I love children. I love mothering children. I'm very nurturing in nature. But the fact that I'm nurturing in nature doesn't mean that I want to be able to give birth to my own kids. And I know that I will not be the best mother that I can be. So when I already know that deep in my heart, why should I take up that decision and do it? Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. To the women out there who shared their stories and trusted us with their stories, I want to thank you so much for doing this. And to other women who are watching this conversation right now, I want to remind you that motherhood does not define our womanhood, and you are worthy just because you are. And if you decide not to have kids, it's okay to chat that part. Society should not define who you are, what you do, and if and when you give birth. So thank you so much again for watching the conversation. If you're a woman who have decided not to have kids, I would like to obviously hear your story. Please comment in the comment section below. If you know someone, if you're married, if you're thinking about it and you're unsure, please drop your comment in the comment section below. We'll all be reading and obviously learning and engaging with each other. My name is Lolo Cynthia. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.